Speaking of high prices, let's turn our attention to the UK, the sick man of Europe. While inflation has been falling everywhere else, it remains stubbornly high in the UK. It is going down, but not fast enough. Of particular concern is food inflation. Food prices are about 20% higher than they were last year. This keeps aggravating their cost of living crisis, and their government still doesn't know how to address it. Last week, they were looking into putting price caps at supermarkets. Indians are familiar with the concept of a maximum retail price. But that isn't standard practice in the UK, and unsurprisingly, some companies are not willing to implement it. How will they price gouge if there's a cap? This is a standoff in the making between the government and supermarkets, and now a new idea has been floated: a universal basic income. Our next report has more.
What would you do if you were assured about $2,000 a month? Guaranteed that amount in your bank account. You may not have to worry about making ends meet. If that stress melted away, would you focus on your career more? Or would you stop working and take it easy? That's what the UK is trying to find out. A think tank called Autonomy is looking to conduct a pilot program, a pilot for universal basic income. It plans to test it out on 30 people in 2 areas in England. It wants to study how these people behave. The think tank hopes that the findings will pave the way to introduce universal basic income in the UK. Because, let's face it, the UK might need this. The country is suffering at the hands of inflation, more than almost anywhere else in Europe. Every country was hit by a cost of living crisis when the war in Ukraine erupted last year. But no one seems to be dealing with it worse than the UK. Inflation hit a 40-year high of 11.1% last October. It has climbed down now, but not enough. The latest figures show inflation at 8.7% in April. It was slightly more than expected, but that's not the biggest problem. It's what's driving inflation that's worrying policymakers in Rishi Sunak's government. Food inflation.
Whilst it is welcome that the headline rate of inflation has fallen, these numbers show there is absolutely no room for complacency in the battle against inflation. Food price inflation is still worryingly high. That's why we've had food producers in, farmers in, supermarkets in to talk about what we can do to reduce the pressure there.
Food and non-alcoholic beverage prices rose by 19.1% year-on-year in April, almost 20%, for essentials like bread, milk and eggs. You can see why it has the British government worried. How long can people keep paying 20% extra for these basics? Or continue to deal with general inflation over 8%?
And it's currently running between 8.7 and 10%. What we've also had, because of the war in Ukraine, is vast increase in energy costs, and also food costs in the UK have shown bills have increased between 16 and 20% in the last 12 months. So everybody's feeling the strain, regardless of the level of income that they've got.
The Sunak administration is scrambling to bring food inflation in check. Their solution? Introduce price caps at supermarkets. The government floated this idea last week, and it immediately faced a backlash from major supermarket chains. Even though the price caps would be voluntary, the supermarket tycoons aren't having it. The British Retail Consortium put out a message. They said that the government should not focus on recreating 70s-style price controls. They should work on cutting red tape instead. Of course, the supermarkets would prefer the loosening of government regulations, but they're just the latest to rebel against the government. For months, the officials at 10 Downing Street have faced stiff resistance. Railway workers, nurses, paramedics, everyone has been taking to the streets. Everyone wants a pay rise to deal with the crippling cost of living. Sunak's government doesn't think this is feasible. They say it'll cost too much, empty the treasury. So it's been pushing back against striking workers. Downing Street even wants to enact a new law to undermine the right to strike. That's how much it's against increasing wages. In this scenario, it seems impossible that the government would agree to universal basic income, no matter what the findings are. But the think tank proposing the radical solution may not have to worry much. The study will be over around the next general election, and the way things stand at the moment, this government's inability to handle inflation may lead to their ouster.
The BBC chairman is rigorous, it's transparent, it's set